Okay, talk about your journey to the elite team and where you got your start in the sport.
I was in a car accident in 2001, and from that I did rehabilitation at the Courage Center in Minnesota, and I was doing swim therapy there, and my therapist suggested that I go and do swimming. And from there I met a guy by the name, his name's Ben Kenyon, and he was doing all the sports at Courage Center, and I kind of idolized him, so I got into doing all the sports there as well. And I made the team in 2011 when I was 15. And the way I made that team was basically Courage Center has a really good wheelchair basketball team, so our head coach was the under 25 women's coach, and he ended up having to step away from the position and Steph Wheeler took it. But I made that team and I got a tryout because I knew him, and then everyone that made that team got invited to USA tryouts.
So it's in your blood.
Yeah, I guess.
And so you were pretty young when you had your accident.
Mm-hmm. I was 5 years old.
And how did that affect you psychologically? And how did, what was your driving, what was that driver? Was it the Courage Center? Was it, talk a little bit about that.
Well, I have very strong parents, so I think after the accident they just said we need to pick up and keep moving forward, and sports was the best way for us to do that, and so it was something that my family kind of fell back on. And my mom and dad are incredible people. They would drive me up an hour and a half to the city 6 days a week so I could do all these sports, because they didn't want to limit me to just 2 or 3 sports. They wanted me to do everything, and I give everything to my parents and my family back home.
What other sports did you like?
I really love swimming, and I still swim, tennis, track, field, archery. From a small town, so we do trap shooting and gun stuff, and I was part of 4-H and all that. And then sled hockey, cross country skiing, basically anything and everything.
So you don't mind the duck fatigues or whatever they call them?
No, the bruises from shooting.
Get the kickback, yeah. So growing up in a rural community, and like you said, you've got an hour and a half to get up there. I mean, that's a lot. It's a big commitment. It's even a big commitment for a kid too. But you got any particular stories or anecdotes, from those stories that you could share?
I just remember my mom picking me up from school. I would leave school early so I could go to therapy and then go to a basketball practice, and then maybe on the way we would stop and do a track practice as well. So we would jam full the car with a track chair, my ball chair, my everyday chair, and then my mom would pack all of it herself, and probably by the time she had it packed I was already falling asleep in the passenger seat, and then she would drive the full hour and a half by herself and then wake me up when we got there. So it was my nap time, and I never really understood how meaningful it was or how long of a drive it was for my mom until I got older and I had to do the drive myself.
So what would a gold mean for your parents as much as you in Rio?
I think through my entire career, my parents are my biggest supporters and my biggest critics, so I think it would mean more to them than it probably would to me, and it's going to mean everything to me. So I can't even fathom what it would mean to my parents for me to win a gold there.
You're considered one of the big shooters on the team. Talk about how you got to that level and what commitment it takes to be such a good shooter.
Yeah, that goes back. My dad, if I go home and I don't shoot, one day he's like, "Why haven't you shot today?" And we go out and we have a brick driveway and we have a hoop on the side of the garage, and he would just rebound for me for hours and just stand there and rebound. Or my mom would drive me into the Y and rebound, and we had this small 10 by 10 foot room where the basket is literally on the brick wall inside this tiny room, and I would go there and just shoot for hours. I couldn't even shoot a free throw, the room was so small. But I loved shooting there, and it was always only me, and the ball would always go back to me because it would bounce off the walls and come back to me. And it's the same at UTA where I go to school now in Texas. You go there and I have people around me that want to just help and stuff like that. My boyfriend rebounds for me every day, all day, and lets me post him up, and he's a basketball player as well, and he's put aside all of his shooting and stuff like that just so I can get better. So it's, being a good player, it's because of the supportive family and people you have around you.
Very cool. Have you talked to you know Josh on the men's team?
Yeah.
Left-hander. So, he was talking about shooting, and he was saying, yeah, I go out and I shoot I try to get 1,000 shots in a day, when he's, do you think a lot of people never would have that dedication to put 1,000 shots up a day, and he's out there, and so that's what it takes to be a good shooter, right? Just repetition and knowing your spots on the floor, right? So what's your spot on the floor? What's they call the dead zone, that area that you're deadly at.
Left side baseline is probably my kill spot, and I feel like I'm a fast player, so most of my stuff is inside the key, and that's where my goal is to get inside, so inside and at left baseline.
Did you get to the free throw line much?
Yeah, I do, and I like to think I shoot well there. Sometimes I struggle, sometimes I don't. I really have struggled in the past there, but we have a great sports psychologist, so it's getting better.
And finally, talk about the team. You're part of that younger generation pushing up. There's obviously some good veterans who've been around a couple Olympics, but even at a young age, you've been around for a while. Talk about the mix of the team and the chemistry going into Rio.
Yeah, there's some new people. You have some vets that are coming in and they're blending in perfectly fine. But I think the biggest thing going into Rio is we've had our core since 2013, and we were a young team that would go out and just get beat up by Germany or Netherlands, or even Canada would beat us up. All these teams would just destroy us, and our practices were rough, and we would just shoot layups forever. And we would have some practices where we would have to go in at 6 in the morning and shoot layups because we couldn't hit 3 shots in a row individually. And I think that's the thing, all of us have been through that process together, and we've seen where we were and how far we've come. So I think our core group is so tight-knit, and everyone that's coming in is such a good mix to throw in with us, that the chemistry on our team is something that's our strong suit for sure.